everybody, it's Elisa here. So today in this video I want to talk about intermittent fasting and give you my experience and share with you my story how intermittent fasting was actually something that started my path to disordered eating and then a full-blown eating disorder, bulimia. So for me, how it started was that when I was about 15 years old, maybe even younger. Actually, I think I was, like I had to be younger because I went in one of these dance classes in school, and I remember our dance teacher was speaking to one of my friends, and my friend in that time, like, she had gained weight, and not because like she was overeating or something, but because like she was on a medication. But the teacher, I guess, like just tried to tell her some advice, like how to eat more healthy or how to lose the weight or whatever. But back then, like, of course I had no idea, like what she said was extremely like disturbing, and how can you recommend somebody to start dieting like to a child? So the teacher, like, she was a good teacher, like she had a good heart, but she had no idea what she was doing. So anyway, like, I overheard their conversation where the teacher recommended my friend to stop eating after 6 p.m. and drink a lot of water like during the day as well. And since like me and my friend, we were like best friends, and we started to do this like kind of like food restriction or diet together. So basically I stopped eating after 6 p.m. and I started to drink a lot of water during the day. And back then, of course, my body was healthy. I was healthy physically, mentally. I had a healthy metabolism, everything. Of course I lost weight, and this is the most weight I have lost in my life. I wasn't very like underweight or anything, but for me, definitely I lost a lot of weight because I was already normal weight. So and I was able to keep up with this intermittent fasting for half a year, and I truly remember that I was very good at this, and I didn't like skip a day. And I had this rule that like all foods are available, I can eat whatever I want, however much I want during the daytime, but after 6 p.m. I can't eat anything, and I didn't allow myself to eat anything. And of course I was also like drinking a lot of water, like 3 liters a day, sometimes I'm sure even more. So yeah, like during this half a year, of course I lost a lot of weight, but what happened was that like I was very rigid with this, and yeah, I'm sure like as many of us, you know, who develop eating disorders, like we are very, you know, like perfectionist, and this was also my mindset. So like this is why I was able to do it for so long time. But of course I started to have like more hunger and started to think about food more often and everything. And then I remember one day I was out with my friends, and I came home. It was maybe about like 11 p.m. or 12 at night or something like that. And of course, like being out with friends, like we are very active and everything, and I didn't eat anything past 6 p.m. Of course, I was so hungry that I knew that I just can't go to sleep, and the hunger was so overwhelming. So basically I just ate I think like some noodles I had it at my home, like just to make like a big meal of noodles. And I can't really remember what else I ate, but I remember it was like noodles, maybe even instant noodles or something. But I do remember that after that I felt so incredibly full. And definitely, like looking back now, I know this was my first binge episode, because something like this had never happened to me. And of course, looking back now, I know why it happened, because I was restricting. I didn't allow myself to eat when I was hungry, because I was so focused in this like intermittent fasting and not eating after 6 p.m. Yeah, so this was my first like binge episodes or like extreme hunger episode. And of course, like after that I felt so full, I felt so disgusted, I felt so shameful, so guilty. I had broken my rule and everything, And I like swore to myself that yeah, from tomorrow I'm gonna continue exactly as I've been, you know, the past 6 months, and everything will be back to normal. But the thing is that after this one time, I couldn't go back to this intermittent fasting because like my body took over, and I couldn't not eat. Like when I was hungry, I couldn't do the intermittent fasting again. And of course, like I'm so grateful for my body. Like I didn't went to anorexia, but for me, like this is where the binge eating, the overeating, the food obsession, the emotion eating, the food addiction, like this is where everything started for me. Like doing this intermittent fasting for 6 months, and basically a teacher recommended this to one of my friends, and yeah, and as a kid, you are naive, you don't know what you're doing. And of course, during this time when I was in puberty, you know, yeah, like as a young girl, woman, like your body develops. And I was one of the first girls actually in my class who started to develop boobs, and I felt I have bigger size and bigger butt, and I felt like just bigger. And of course my body was growing, like it was so natural, so normal. And of course, like because of that, because it's like you become aware of your body, you know, during those years, and maybe it feels uncomfortable, you feel embarrassed, you don't know exactly what's gonna happen, or why is it ever happening. And yeah, this is why I started this intermittent fasting and basically dieting. And after this time, when I had my first binge eating episode, then of course I gained all the weight back. And thankfully, like back then, I didn't already went to bulimia. But I remember from that point forward, my eating wasn't normal anymore, until I got bulimia about like 5 years later or something like that. So yeah, and I always thought that like from that point forward, that I am responsible for maintaining my weight. I can't allow myself to eat to my full hunger. I always have to kind of like low-key watch what I eat. Like I had my own like foods that will always cause me to overeat or feel guilty, and I always felt like I have to control food and I can't trust my body. And as how I would describe like my mindset with eating back then was that I thought I'm an emotional eater, and I thought that yeah, like I can't trust my body, I'm an overeater, and yeah, and I have to control my body with occasional diets, occasional like intermittent fasting like periods, doing exercise and stuff like that. So yeah, since I was a teenager, like I started to diet on some form or other, because yeah, I lost touch with my body, I lost touch with my hunger cues, I lost touch with trusting my body. And this all started because of intermittent fasting. And because I had this like good or positive experience with intermittent fasting, where I was able to lose weight, you know, like this is one of the, you know, times in my life where I was like able to lose weight, and it felt easy. Because I never did diets before, my body was healthy, I didn't have messed up hunger cues. So of course I had this memory in my head that says like, yeah, like intermittent fasting is something that simply works for you, like it works for you, you just have to do it. But of course, over the years, when I developed this like overeating and binge eating, and I thought like I'm an emotional eater and I have to control my weight, of course like my mindset and my body and everything was completely changed. And no intermittent fasting ever is gonna work for me, because what it did every time I tried to do the intermittent fasting again, it's just made my eating problems, relationship with food worse, relationship with my body worse. I felt more out of control, I felt so out of balance, and yeah, but this is how my eating problem started, basically thanks to the intermittent fasting I did. And even now I see many people like commenting, and they are struggling with intermittent fasting, and some people are even wondering like, is it really that bad? Because for example, for me, when I started intermittent fasting, like it didn't felt like I'm restricting, because I told myself like, yeah, I'm eating whatever I want. I'm not restricting calories, like I'm eating to my full hunger. And I literally remember like I was eating pizza and yeah, like whatever I wanted during the daytime. And during the daytime I wasn't hungry, but during the nighttime I just restricted food. And I remember so clearly like every night going to the bed feeling so hungry and waiting that, oh, I want already morning to be here so I can have my big breakfast. And yeah, I remember like every night going to the bed so hungry with a growling stomach and just like a lot of food thoughts. So if you are still intermittent fasting, or even some people think like somehow it's helping them, it's healthy for the body, like whatever, then I just want to be here and tell you that like restriction is a freaking restriction. It doesn't matter how you restrict, how you try to manipulate your body, your hunger cues, how you try to delay your eating, delay your hunger, how you try to like trick your body or your hunger cues or whatever. Like it's not gonna work. Like restriction is a restriction, no matter how you look at it. If in any way you feel you have to control your food, or you're doing something that somebody else recommends, or you are listening from external sources how you should eat, how much you should eat, when you should eat, and you are not internally listening to your body, your hunger cues, you're not responding to your physical hunger, mental hunger, then you are restricting, you are on a diet, no matter what is the label. Like restriction is a restriction. And in recovery, like yeah, like if you are still intermittent fasting, if you are eating one part of the day and then restricting on other parts of the day, like you are still in a dieting, you are still in an eating disorder. It's not gonna recover you. Like you have to stop all restriction to fully recover. This is what I'm gonna say, like my own experience with intermittent fasting. And of course, like after the years went by, I always tried to go back to the intermittent fasting. Like for me, this was my holy grail. Like this is the best memory I have about like losing weight and how I was able to like successfully lose the weight, and it felt so easy. And I had this like delusional illusion in my head, like, oh, intermittent fasting is the only thing that's gonna work for me. But actually no, it was actually the start of my eating disorder. And in my recovery I had several relapses because of the intermittent fasting. Yes, and my my recovery finally speeded up, where I fully understood and I told myself that, Elisa, this intermittent fasting, it's same as any restriction. It will never ever work for you. You can go back to intermittent fasting, I don't know, like 100 times. It's not gonna work. It's still not gonna work. Because over the years I just saw that it made all of my eating problems just worse, because it's just another restriction. It's another restriction. So yeah, this is what I wanted to talk about today. Stop all restrictions, stop all dieting, no matter what is the label. Restriction is still a restriction, and choose full recovery. So this is what I'm gonna say today. Please subscribe to my channel, please like this video if you find it helpful, and I will see you next time. Bye.